good morning, my friends. How are you today? It's your old pal Jordan the Lion. Your old pal Jordan the Lion, your old pal Jeffrey, your old pal Clark Gable, and guess who is missing? Guess who didn't come home again last night? Well, apparently he's on his way now. That's what they say. And we'll get to see him shortly. Now today, I'm going to do a very interesting vlog today. Maybe one of the most interesting I'll ever do. I just didn't know exactly how I wanted to do it. The place that we're going has multi-levels of stories that I'd like to share, but I didn't necessarily want to throw them all into one, and I didn't know how to split it up into two either without cross-fading stories. So how I do it today will be a mystery to you as well as me. That's probably Jaw. It will be a mystery to you as well as me. I'm just going to get there, start talking, telling you everything I know, and we'll see what happens. Daze with Jordan the Lion begins now. Alright, I'm having my morning coffee. It sounds like Jaw's literally on his way. So I hear. And I'm listening to the Doug Stanhope podcast, and he's talking about how he's got a second book coming out, and his first book was great, so I can't wait to hear it. And I mean it when I say hear it. With Doug Stanhope, I always wait till the audiobook comes out because it was so much funnier. I bought the digital book, but then I downloaded the audio book as well, and it was hilarious, so I'll get that again this time when it comes out. Well, there he is. He just came home, hopped up on the bed, and there he is. I missed you, my friend. Did you miss me? Did you miss me? No? Oh, that's a bummer. You handsome devil, look at you. Good to see you, bud. Good to see you. Alright, I think I'm ready to go do this vlog, and I think what I decided to do is I'm going to break it up into two parts. You'll get one half today, and tomorrow you'll get the other half. I'm going to take my hiking clothes with me because we're actually going to be pretty close to the very top of Runyon Canyon, so if there's any parking, I might just pull off, change my shorts, change my shirt, and start at the top, go all the way down, and then work my way back up and do that for a hike today. So we'll see what happens, but this is going to be quite an adventure. Where we're going today used to be called Mulholland Farm. It used to be an 11.5 acre estate that ERROL FLYNN had built in 1941, and we're gonna go see it now. Let's go. Well, it's a little bit overcast, and the one little bit of sun that's poking out is poking out in the exact direction I need it not to be poking out at, so we'll try and get the best footage we can. Alright, we're making it up here to the Invasion of the Body Snatchers Bridge. I don't think I will never not point that out. I love that movie, I love this scene. And what a view from up here. Pretty much all of Universal City you can see from up here. Now, like I mentioned to you before, I'm going to break this up into two vlogs, and though I would like to do the history of the house and everything on the first day, I know if I don't do the juicy story that this place is kind of known for, if I don't do it first, every comment today will be mentioning this, and it'll be a spoiler, so I'm just going to do the juicy, interesting John Barrymore story today. Well, we've made it to our location. And believe it or not, as busy as this stretch of Mulholland is, back in the time that ERROL FLYNN lived here, there were no other houses around him. He was the only property up here. So let me show you where his address was. So in 1942, John Barrymore, known as the Great Profile, died. So this is actually not the original house. The original property was 11.5 acres, and it was eventually parceled out. But this interesting story takes place here. This was ERROL FLYNN's address, 7740. Now what happened was ERROL FLYNN kind of modeled his life after John Barrymore. All the way up until having an early death. But he lived the same life. A hard partying life with lots of women, lots of stories to take to your grave, and they had a group that they all hung out with that was called the Bundy Drive Gang, and it was people like W.C. Fields, crew members that they were friends with, Raoul Walsh, John Barrymore, Errol Flynn. And so what happened in 1942, May of 1942, when John Barrymore died, Errol Flynn basically fell into like a spiral and fell into a Great Depression because Errol Flynn, like I said, John Barrymore was kind of his idol, but he was also kind of the leader. He was kind of the leader of this Bundy Drive gang, and when he passed away from cirrhosis, Errol Flynn's natural inclination, of course, was to go into a hardcore bender and then start just drinking constantly. And one of the places that was his favorite spot, it was also a heavy hangout for F. Scott Fitzgerald, was the Cock and Bull on Sunset Boulevard that's no longer there. It's actually now like a Range Rover dealership. But one night, Raoul Walsh, right after the death of John Barrymore, Raoul Walsh and Errol Flynn are there drinking, and all of a sudden, Raoul Walsh gets an idea. These guys were known as total pranksters, practical jokers, and so Raoul Walsh leaves Errol Flynn at the bar, hops in his car and goes over to Pierce Brothers Mortuary. And as far as I can tell, that's the Westwood Cemetery Mortuary. Goes over there, starts talking to the head of the head mortician basically, and tells him, hey, I want to pay you to borrow John Barrymore's body. And this guy's like, what? He goes, yeah, we're friends with this guy, and I want to take him just for a few hours and I'll bring him back. Now, true to life, money talks, and the mortician did agree to do this. So Raoul Walsh and the mortician load John Barrymore's body up into his car. Raoul Walsh drives all the way up here to Mulholland, knocks on Errol Flynn's door, which was basically an open door policy. Everybody hung out here, and even though Errol wasn't here, he woke up the butler that Errol Flynn had, and he goes, hey, help me get Mr. Barrymore in, he's drunk. So they start bringing John Barrymore into the house, and the butler says, I think he's dead. I don't think he's drunk. And he goes, oh no, you've seen him like this a million times. Help me get him onto the couch. We'll sit him on the couch, and you can go make him some coffee or something. He'll be fine. So the butler goes in, starts making the coffee, and Raoul Walsh goes and sits in a corner, and Errol Flynn staggers home. This is the legend. Now, some people have said it's totally fake, that this never happened, but Raoul Walsh actually went on record in an interview on video and said that it did happen. And so what he said was, his account, and as well as Errol Flynn's account in Errol Flynn's book, was that Errol Flynn staggers in, sits down, and the room's kind of dark. He sits down in his favorite chair. John Barrymore is basically like laid out on this couch, and all of a sudden, the butler comes in and says, I have Mr. Barrymore's coffee, and Errol Flynn looks over, sees a lifeless, closed-eyed John Barrymore, who his body was kind of like pale and puffed up. It said it looked like he hadn't went through the embalming process, but he was very lifeless, and the description was that he looked like he had no blood in his body anymore. He sees this, he freaks out, starts screaming, and says, with friends like this, who needs enemies? And runs out of the house and hides behind a bush and started shouting, you're gonna get us all locked up in San Quentin. So reportedly, after this, Errol Flynn and Raoul Walsh loaded John Barrymore up into the car and took him back to Pierce Brothers Mortuary, as they agreed. And when they came back, Raoul Walsh had told the funeral director, or the mortician, what it was that he had done. And the mortician reportedly said, and this is so classic, he goes, if you'd have told me what you were going to do, I'd have put a better suit on him. So this went down in history as one of those really bizarre pranks that nobody really knows whether it truly happened or not. But like I said, Errol Flynn wrote about it in his book, it's in all the Errol Flynn books, and Raoul Walsh actually went on record in a documentary saying that this happened. And I thought that was just such a hilarious story. Now, one of the fascinating things about John Barrymore's death is that he has a grave at Cavalry Cemetery, where Ethel Barrymore and Lionel Barrymore are buried. However, he's not there. He's actually buried all the way in Philadelphia, where his family got their start and ran the theaters. I'll tell you what became of this property tomorrow, so don't miss out. Come back tomorrow. I guarantee you'll enjoy this. And this is now one of the gates to the property, which is pretty interesting. Now the top of this property, basically the way it works is that it is kind of in a decline down a hill. So the top of this property of the 11.5 acres was actually a horse, kind of a horse roaming area, big grassy horse ranch area. And then as you went down the hill, that's where the house was. Now I want to walk across the street and look at this overlook over here. I'll show you the view. There's definitely some definitive walking paths and trails. All right, I'm feeling it. Let's go for a hike. Well, holy smoke. I took a weird turn looking for parking so I could go hike Runyon Canyon and ran into this. Isn't this amazing? That is really interesting. What is that? Wow, pretty cool. Looks very Art Nouveau. Very, oh, even look at the knocker. It's, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like a little hand with a ring on it. That is cool. Would it fit in very well in Budapest? The chains. Very cool. Very cool. Oh, look at that. Big old deer and dog. Wow. Cool house. I love it. Well, my plan today was actually to start the hike at the very top where we ended the other day, but unfortunately couldn't find a parking space anywhere over there. Waited for about 20 minutes, never got a parking space, so had to drive all the way down the hill and start where I normally start. Wow, it is pretty empty in here today. I'm stupefied. Well, we made it. Well, we're working our way down now, and in a true rarity, right about here on the way up, I got really lightheaded. I actually thought I was gonna faint. I just forced it through though and went up and sat on that bench up there though. Almost done, almost done. All right, to me, these are the hardest part of the whole thing, going down these slippery stairs. All right, first landing done. All right, we made it to the end. I had no doubts. Well, we came out for a walk and all you wanted to do was sit and lay in the grass, don't you? I'm okay with that. I bet you're pretty gassed out. Usually when you go over there and hang out for a full day, you come back pretty tired, so. Look at that handsome devil. Well, they got their Christmas decorations out. Looks pretty good. Well, I popped in here at Ross to see if there's anything I was needing because I had to go buy Jaw his dog food. And I noticed this. Doesn't that look like an I Dream a Genie style bottle? Pretty cool stuff here though. All right, we're gonna head off to the post office and mail out a hat for someone. The hope here is that I can just use one of those machines, get in and get out. Done. Well, good evening, my friends. I hope you guys enjoyed our very first vlog of 2 from the Mulholland farm that was owned by ERROL FLYNN. Now tomorrow, what I'm going to go into is his time at the house, the people that lived in the house afterward, and yes, they do, some have said that that house is haunted. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. Have a great night. I wanted to thank Anne-Marie Clark and Jim Miller for becoming my newest Patreons. And a big special thank you to Ginger Bowen for her donation. That was so sweet of you as always. And I appreciate you all. If you'd like to become a Patreon, just go to patreon.com/JordanTheLion. Anybody that donates $3 or more, I'm going to mail out a Christmas card, provided that you send me your address after December 1st. So, if you'd like a Christmas card, that's how you get one. Hope you guys had a great time watching this video, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Goodbye.
I would never hurt myself.